You're listening to TehachaPod with Budge, Corey Costelloe, and Greg Garrett.
Welcome to another episode of TehachaPod. Corey Costelloe, Greg Garrett, Budge. We're back together, and we are talking about new normal.
New normal? What normal? N squared? N2? I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I guess
nobody knows. That's the whole point of the show today, and then also just it's such a moving target. We keep talking about that in response to COVID-19, but what will it look like? And will it be long-term? Will it kind of fade away? Will it go the way of the Beanie Baby and not be long-term?
I can't get into this new norm. I haven't bought into it yet. I'm that guy. I know. We'll see.
It's a term that is getting used an awful lot. We'll really get into that. We've talked to some people out on the streets. We'll hear what they have to say. So that's all coming up. I want to talk about where TehachaPod is on a national basis. We've actually broke the top 100 government podcasts. We're at number 57
worldwide, right? We're talking.
We're an international phenomenon.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna have to ask for a raise. My goodness, we're getting paid nothing to do this, but it's fun to do.
It's the global market of podcasting, the government category. We know our lane.
Right.
We're fitting in our lane. We're not competing with Joe Rogan.
Right.
But we peaked at number 57 right here in middle of May. It's the third time we broke into the top 100 charts.
Sure.
And they chart all the way to the top 400. So we kind of float in between, but we hit number 57.
And we're just not a boring government podcast, right? The proof is in the pudding here, right?
We're getting downloads on a consistent basis. So Thank you to everyone who is downloading the podcast.
And subscribe. I'd remind people to subscribe.
Exactly.
And, Key, you and I both having a radio background, we know how ratings used to go, right? So we could break this down and say we're number 57 amongst government podcasts, but we're number one in the 25 to 64, the 93561 zip code podcast for governments.
I feel pretty safe about that. We might even be, the top podcast in Kern County as far as government podcasts.
Is that because we're the only one?
Well, I think
semantics, Greg. Semantics.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going into the details.
I'm too honest. Oh my God.
It's pretty exciting when we look at the analytics. Cool. We can look at the cities that download. So obviously, Tehachapi, Kern County is by far and away where the majority of people are listening. But I did a little research and looked at some of the other cities in Japan, in Germany, places we have military bases. Mm-hmm. So our kids that are overseas are looking for a little taste of home, and they're checking out the podcast.
That's
so I think
really cool.
I thought that was really, really exciting.
Yeah, that's special to know that they're probably homegrown. They're off in the military, working somewhere around the globe, and they're listening to this podcast as a little slice of heaven is coming into their work or homes.
They can think back to the windmills and the land of four seasons.
Well, we can tell them the wind's still blowing, right? The wind's still blowing,
and it's May and it's cloudy and chilly outside. So,
and if we were going to have graduation, we'd be freezing.
It's about that time. It's about that time.
And we definitely want to say thank you for your service and what you do for our country. You give us the freedoms to be able to podcast and the things that we do on a daily basis. So we appreciate your service and dedication to our country as you serve overseas. And hopefully we bring you just that little taste of the apple pie, if you will, from here in Tehachapi. So we're now on iHeartRadio podcasts, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on virtually all of the podcast platforms. So please subscribe if you do. And that's pretty exciting for us. We had a city council meeting. This is a big one that we have every year. We talk about the budget. Greg, you want to break down what occurred?
Absolutely. The budget is our playbook, right? If you don't have a playbook, you don't have a plan moving forward. Just like on the football field, if you're in the military, it doesn't matter what you're doing. And we are proud, very proud, this team has put together at the City of Tehachapi yet another balanced budget. Almost $22 million. We're not cutting services. We're not cutting employees. As a matter of fact, we plan on adding a police officer next fiscal year, an unfilled position actually. And that's, of course, to continue to monitor and keep track of things and make sure that we're safe and sound, keeping our town the safest in Kern County. But yeah, so $22 million. We've got a balanced budget, reserves, and we're not cutting services. What more can I say? I mean, it's just an amazing story to tell. Very proud of this entire team for putting it together, and the city council for approving it and moving forward in such a fashion, unlike so many other government entities. You know, we were talking earlier. We operate with the council's blessing and the city, the citizens' blessing. The city like a business, right? Like it should be. We don't spend money we don't have. We don't make promises we can't keep. We continue to invest in our community, and it shows. I'm really, really proud of this year's budget.
It was a little challenging too, just because, you know, you budget on your projected revenues and the money coming in, and with COVID-19, we know there's going to be an impact to that, because there's fewer hotel stays and sales tax and that kind of stuff. So I think there was kind of a curveball thrown this year, and okay, we have to prepare for that. We have to maybe, you know, I know we work with HDL, which is a group that does a lot of sales tax reporting for us, and they gave projections. And I know Greg and Hannah Chung, our finance director, called and talked to some of the people, some of the larger sales tax generators. How's your business? And made those adjustments accordingly. So that was kind of impressive this year to sort of work through this challenge. And then every department head kind of had the same challenge too, like make your budget sort of COVID-19 reactionary. How are we going to make some changes to the operation? I thought that was pretty awesome that everybody was able to do that and really keep it balanced, as Greg pointed out.
Yeah, the budget is award-winning, as you may know, and we'll be publishing that on our website here soon. It is your money. We want to make sure that you understand where it's being spent, the revenues coming in, where do they come from, and the expenses or the expenditures going out. You know, we operate about 10 companies. We have a water company, a sewer company, an airport, a trash company, a transit company, you know, on. And I would be very, very happy to share any of that information with anybody if they so choose, or if you just want to put yourself to sleep, quite frankly. But it really is, it's an interesting document, and it's well done. I'm very proud of the teamwork.
And if you're interested, you can check out our YouTube channel where it was recorded, the meeting, and you broke it down very well. You explained it to all of council before they got the opportunity to discuss it and vote on it. So that's available for the public right now if they'd like to. Go to YouTube and at City of Tehachapi, and you'll see our city council meeting. And
you could scroll right to that, take you right to the budget, because we had several items before the budget presentation. But you could go right to that, and you know, we spent probably a better part of an hour actually going through the different elements. I want to make sure that everybody completely understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, when we're doing it, how we do it.
And all of our council members got a chance to comment following your presentation of the budget. So we've got some of that sound that they provided just prior to the vote. So let's go ahead and check in with what our council had to say about our budget.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Just kudos to everyone involved from top to the bottom, presenting a budget that's balanced with healthy reserves. Thank you all.
Thank you. Councilmember Davies.
I'd like to, again, also thank the city, the employees, and everything that they do. This budget, you know, I've read it, I've looked at it, I've counseled with people. I'll tell you what, it's amazing what we're doing and how we're in budget. I mean, there's so many different cities around us that are not, and you can tell by the standards which they have, how they conduct their business and how they look. I appreciate all our city employees and everything they do for us. And I think this is this is going to be good for 5 years. We'll move forward every year.
Thank you. Councilmember Pokencord.
The beautiful report. I understood what it was trying to tell us and appreciate all the hard work and effort. That's a lot of work. So thank you very much to everybody.
Okay, Councilmember Scrivener.
I do want to echo how proud we should be of the work of the staff and how thoughtful this report is for not only us, but for the taxpayers that fund all of this important work. I think it's a really admirable blend of a standard that we can feel proud of and, you know, fair support of the team that's implementing it, but really with raising our gaze to what's possible, what can we do, what should we do to make Tehachapi a beautiful place to live and a place we can be proud to be raising our families. So I just applaud you for striking that balance.
Thank you. And I would also like to echo everyone's comments, but I would also like to say that no matter what question any of us ask, we can't stump you. Not that that's our intent, but you always have an answer right at your fingertips to explain things, and that impresses me a lot. You know the budget inside and out.
All very positive comments across the board. They were very supportive, understanding, asked some intelligent questions during the process. So I think when I was listening, it was one of those that it was easy to follow along, even though I didn't have it in my lap. It was presented very well.
We have an amazing city council, 5 members that do their due diligence. They understand the value of being involved at every level, and we really are fortunate to have them on our team helping. You know, they volunteer every day. They're doing something on behalf of the city of Tehachapi, and they did their due diligence, and they understand the budget in and out, so it's good.
The new normal. The new normal. That's what we said we were going to talk about today. It's the new normal kind of evolves every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's been over the last 8, 10, 12 weeks. It's just been a roller coaster, you know, and we strap ourselves into the seat and, you know, and at the end of the day, something's changed.
Yeah, and you don't know who to believe sometimes, right? I mean, I tell, you know, people I bump into, don't watch the news at 5 o'clock because you're going to hear maybe what you want to hear or what you don't want to hear. It just, and I don't want to sound like a politician really, but it's so tough to know what's truthful.
Yeah. And there's so many different areas too where guidelines are coming out, and you know, I spent a lot of time researching and listening to these sort of, again, it's these experts that are weighing in on what they think the new normal will look like. We don't know because, to be honest, people are going to have to accept them as normal. And we have the masks going on right now, and people are doing that, and some people are into it, some people aren't. That will continue. I think we're going to see sort of a weird normal once we sort of return, and, you know, and Kern County is poised to sort of move further along in stage 2 and maybe get some normal things back open like restaurants, but they will look different. And so I think for a short time, we're going to see some of these changes. Some will probably stay long-term. I think some will kind of go the way of a fad. You know, I was looking at a picture from a baseball game in the wake of the Spanish flu, and there were players on the field and people in the stands wearing masks. Well, that obviously didn't last in a Major League Baseball as we know today. It's going to come back, and then whether or not it lasts will be, you know, just kind of a test of time, really.
I guess, you know, we need to learn to live with COVID. I've heard that a couple times. Learn to live with, you know, polio or, you know, I don't know, HIV, you know, all these different nasty, deadly diseases. How do you live side by side with COVID-19? I don't think we've figured that out yet, but I look forward to the day that we do. For
myself, it's I've got underneath my roof at home, I've got family members with serious compromised immune system. So it has another meaning for us. But I also look at it, and I've had conversations with family, that it's our responsibility to recognize the things that we are going to go to expose ourselves to. Yeah. We have
a calculated risk you're willing to take.
Right. And so whether we choose to wear masks, gloves, keep sanitizer, whether those are personal choices we get to make and prepare ourselves for in our journey in day-to-day life. But I can see myself, you know, if all of a sudden I had tickets to a ball game for tomorrow night, we wouldn't go. And that would be a choice that we made just based on, you know, what's happening within our family structure, just for our own safety. But those are the personal decisions I think we each have to make for ourselves. And what works for me may not work for you guys, and vice versa. And we have to respect that.
And I think businesses have to take that into consideration, because there's talks about, you know, obviously, and I've brought this up before, but I let restaurant owners know, hey, keep up this online ordering stuff, this curbside pickup, this delivery, keep that as part of your repertoire, so to speak, when we get back to in-person dining, because people are going to still want that. I've enjoyed the convenience of that because I've got 2 little kids. I can't take those little guys to restaurants most of the time. They'll tear the place up. So it's nice to be able to not cook and pick things up. But even stores, retail, grocery stores. I was on a presentation from the International Council of Shopping Centers last week, and they talked about what the grocery experience is going to look like, how that's going to change because of the lessons we've learned. End caps, a lot of the end cap items you see in grocery stores, those are going to be shrunk down a little bit to allow for more room at at the front of the store for people to not congregate in line as close. The items that are on the end cap are going to go away from being, you're not going to have your laundry detergent and that kind of really long-term usage item on the end cap. It'll be more of that short-term use item. The staple will be closer to the end cap. And then really pointing out that things like patriotism really sell at retail. And then the supply chains. We're seeing, and locally, we're so blessed with some of the stores that we have and the ability with our farmers market to tap into local farms. We're seeing that at the grocery level now. There's going to be a shift away from these long supply chains because we don't have really a shortage of anything. We're having a supply chain issue right now with trucks going too far and not going to distribution centers and that sort of thing. It goes to meat, it goes to toilet paper, whatever it was. So locally sourcing items and items that are minimally processed to get to the stores quicker will be probably something that we're going to see in the future, at least with grocery and then, to other retail and some. And those are probably good things in the long term and not something that you won't really see in the wake of COVID-19. It won't be a sanitary measure, but it's more of a logistics thing that the adjustments are kind of being forced on.
And I think you'll start to look at home and look at your inventory and maybe think, I need to make sure I've got a good week or 2 weeks supply of this, that, or whatever, rather than, I'm out of it, I better go run down to the store.
And that's the way it should be, right? There are some organizations, some religious organizations that practice that and preach that, and that's a really good thing. People should be prepared because you can never tell what's going to happen. There's going to be so many, I believe, if you look at the good part of what's happening, notwithstanding people are ill and have died. But everything that happens, it happens for a reason, and we are going to drive. The American citizen and the consumer is going to drive the change, and we're going to drive it in a positive way. What are some of the things that you guys think of that are Corey, you mentioned already? Supply chains are changing, different things, but I think that there are probably some untold, unthought of yet, really benefits, and I look forward to being a part of crafting that so that we can come out of this better, stronger, smarter, as we move forward as a society.
I've found that and this was kind of what I did before, but I've taken it to the next level because of all this, just in terms of that supply, that food supply. Like there is no meat shortage at my home because for the last several years, I source my own beef. So I get a side of beef from a rancher that I know, local ranchers. They sell them by the side and I get it cut, wrapped the way I want, and it's in my freezer. And that's been something I've been doing. So for us, it wasn't a huge deal, but I kind of doubled down a little bit when I really found out the issues they were having in a lot of the pork processing facilities with COVID-19. And then again, shipping this product because the meat packers weren't working. And so I know there was an opportunity and this will be an opportunity coming up with the Kern County Fair as well. The Porterville Fair was canceled this year, and that's usually in May. And the FFA kids couldn't sell their animals. So they actually did an at-large auction. And remote, I just let them know what price per pound I was willing to pay and the max amount they could spend on my behalf. And here's my credit card number. And
what was that number?
Yeah, right. No. Key with his background in security is like, you gave him your credit card number. And I checked where I wanted it sent meat wise. And then the butcher will call me for, after it's cured and how I want to cut. So I'll have pork as well. And it really wasn't, that huge of an expense, and I don't have to worry about the grocery chain. So that sort of farm to table, pen to plate movement, I think will gain a little bit of steam as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to take a pause and really look around and reconfigure what you're doing professionally and personally. At the city of Tehachapi, it's been tough. Not as tough as a business owner, right, that closed their doors, certainly, but we've had to, our regular duties, if you will, but also the COVID-19. So we've been double duty for many, many weeks now, trying to assist, trying to help out and communicate with the citizens. What do we know? What's going on? How can we help? We'll continue to do that with every resource. We've established communications lines that we did not have before. With the city manager, all of the city managers in Kern County now have a conference call twice a week. We're sharing data. That's so important.
That's a good new normal.
That's a good new normal,
something
right?
to continue with.
So,
for sure.
The listeners say, "Oh, great! Bureaucrats are talking to bureaucrats." But the truth of the matter is, the facts are, as we share information and data, we are smarter, so that we can help our cities and our collective county move forward. Because there are things that are happening in this county they're not so great, right? Oil prices are down. We've got all these crazy things that are happening that are affecting people's lives in a very deep manner, right? And we are getting more organized, and we're helping people move forward and morph into the new norm.
Yeah. Well, and then the restaurant piece. I mean, some of the new normals for restaurants, I guess we'll see how long they last, but the guidelines that were released by the California Department of Public Health, that communal soda machine, a thing of the past. There's no more filling your own sodas at the fountain, so to speak. Pre-setting tables with utensils is out. Putting condiments on the table is out. Putting them in a common area for people to grab is out. That has to be kind of a transaction across the counter. They're going to encourage outside dining, which can be challenging in Tehachapi for most of the year. But that'll be out there. And you'll see your sneeze guards and that kind of stuff. It wasn't as crazy as I maybe thought they would be. Like, everybody's got to have a mask on. And they really were pretty smart with that. And they said if certain people like dishwashers who wear masks and gloves because, okay, that makes total sense. But people working across the counter don't necessarily have to, just be able to sanitize and that kind of stuff. And there'll be some temperature checks for employees by the employer. They even allow that to be done at home, though, as well, by the employee. And they say, look, here's my testament that I didn't have a fever today. So anyway, I thought those were pretty smart. And you're going to see, I think eating in a restaurant is going to be odd for a little bit. They want tables to be separated by 6 feet. So some occupancy will go down.
That works okay if you're sitting near kids like yours, right?
Absolutely. The problem is my kid's going to wander and go start picking off your plate or something like.
But hygiene, right? We're now a cleaner society.
My hands are raw from all the hand washing and hand sanitizer. Right. They're dry.
But that's my point. So we're actually more aware of clean versus dirty,
right?
In so many ways. And I remember after 9/11, there was a new norm. Now, and what is this new norm? It's a whole different new norm, that's for sure. But our economy is going to change. It is changing. Our habits are changing. Our ability to interact with people. It's providing us a platform with the podcast right here. Right. People are listening to this because they're at work or home, and they need another tool for communication.
Well, I see over the past several weeks business models evolving. To capitalize, to stay alive, to keep their employees going, but having an app to download, to bringing in technology, utilizing social media to get your messaging out. There are a lot of businesses that didn't do anything before that now realize that they have to evolve, and that's the way we've. All business is evolved over time, and if you don't evolve, you probably go away.
Yeah.
Right. You need to grow and change. It's like when you have your first kid, right? I have 3 children. When we had our first kid, we had to change. Our whole lifestyle, everything about who we were, what we did, and how we traveled, how we budgeted, all those things forced us to change and become a more whole person, right? And I think we're seeing that in an odd way.
Yeah. Certain things will stick around. I mean, you brought up the 9/11 example. Obviously, we had the Department of Homeland Security that came up after that.
We don't need more bureaucracy.
Yeah,
no more government agencies, no departments.
I think somebody wrote a letter to the editor in the newspaper that said, I just hope after all this, we don't have another government department that's now saying, like, we're the COVID-19 Department of Homeland Security because, and then TSA being more involved at airports. And, you think back to when I was a kid and I knew somebody on an airplane that was coming in and we went to the gate and waited for him to show up. Like that, you can't do that anymore, and you never will be able to do that again. And so will there be a few of those things out there? I don't know, maybe. Someone said today I think the LA Times wrote a piece about the handshake. It's taboo. You can't do it anymore. And I'm like, watch me. That's going to continue. I think you'll have some people who want to go for the Howie Mandel fist bump moving forward for a while. But some of those things, I'm more interested to see what actually doesn't survive.
We can't live in a clear plastic bubble. And roll around like a bad sci-fi movie. No. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, we need some germs in order to build up that immunity.
There you go.
And so, but I think a lot of stuff will be odd for a while, and it will be, people will kind of ultimately reject that change. And then it goes back to what we kind of considered normal before all of this. Right now, I think people are willing to accept that new normal just in order to be able to get back to life a little bit and business and go eat at a restaurant and hopefully help get their hair cut and go to get their nails done, that kind of stuff. So they're willing to sacrifice a few of those things, not forever, but I think for a short
And as we
time.
talk about the new norm, let's not forget the guy, you may have a neighbor that's out of work.
Yeah.
Right. And don't forget that man and woman, that family. We need to really help our friends, family, and neighbors right now. There's a lot of people hurting really bad.
The new norm has to continue to evolve. Because where we're at right now as we record this, we can't survive as a society without getting people back out and being interacting and businesses opening doors. So that has to be the new norm, is getting to that goal. How long is it going to take? Hopefully it's much quicker than longer. It's nice to see that we're starting to move. I think with these holidays of Memorial Day, Independence Day, they're significant days to me. And I've said this to both of you. I mean, for me, Memorial Day, here we are, we're honoring those that gave their lives to give us freedom. And it's a very significant day in our culture, in our history. And to not be able to have the freedoms to go out there, are we honoring those? And then with July 4th, I mean, our independence.
Right.
So there are things that are huge milestones that took place historically that we celebrate each year, and they're right here. So I look at those to me as turning points, and I really hope that I see some more forward movement, here in the state of California, and recognizing that.
Right. Well, I think as long as we continue to remember we're all Americans, we all are citizens of this great country, the best country in the world ever in the history of mankind, and that if we work together, let's not divide ourselves, right? Let's not get political about any of this. Let's pull together, let's help each other out, and let's stay great. Let's continue to be the greatest country in the world.
And I think this pandemic, it's really a once in a lifetime thing.
Let's hope so.
I mean, if you think about the last major one, Spanish flu, I mean, of course, there was SARS and all kinds of stuff that had higher numbers than COVID-19, and we didn't have the same reaction to it. But go back to the Spanish flu, and then there's scarlet fever. I mean, there was a scarlet fever outbreak in the Central Valley in the 1930s that affected Tehachapi. Scarlet fever was obviously didn't have a treatment for that either at the time. So it was in that kind of same range, though, and then we went almost 100 years and didn't have one. So I'm hoping that, I could check this off the old, never wanted to experience it bucket list and say, all right, good. That one's out of the way. But there will be an adjustment made in the meantime. And it just, some stuff will survive and some stuff will not.
Well, I got a chance to talk to a family at the farmer's market and ask them the question, what does the new norm mean to you?
The term new normal, and what does that mean to you? And then what do you hope we're going to get back to here at some point?
Oh, wow. The term new normal. I don't even know how to begin to explain what it means to me. Probably more restrictions, more rules and regulations placed on us, and more just not being more of our freedoms are going to be gone, maybe. Our freedom to meet with people we want to meet with, even educate our kids. I mean, that's going to be not even normal for them. They're not going to have that schedule. They're not going to have that contact with their peers and their teachers, and that really scares me. And probably my biggest thing is that we would get back to educating our children the proper way, other than raising up a generation that's going to be undisciplined and not able to follow a schedule, or maybe even get jobs because they're not going to know how to socialize with people and interact with grown-ups.
We're here at the farmer's market. Things are different. We've whether we've got masks or not, but we're trying to do social distancing as we're out here in public. What does that feel to you? Does new normal mean anything?
I haven't really thought of the term of new normal really that much, just because I feel like this is still a momentary thing. I don't know how long it is going to last. I know that there's thoughts and talk of it lasting for a longer period of time. I guess for me, I'm just being patient and seeing where it's going to go and just trying to enjoy my life with my family. And yeah, so the new normal isn't really affecting me that much, still just enjoying what I have with my family.
So are you hoping that we'll get back to the old normal? What is, like, this is not going to be the new normal, this is just temporary?
I hope it's temporary. If it does last a lot longer, like here with the education I see a lot with, and here in our small town, the jobs, that would all the small community businesses that are being affected, it's really sad to see. But yeah, I hope everything opens up to the old normal or the old way things were, and we could thrive again as an economy and as a city.
I think of a couple things when I hear the term new normal. I think first I'd like to think of the positive going forward. I hope that a few things with this new normal are going forward. Like, I've seen a lot of community help and support and things that weren't in our previous normal. So I hope that going forward, that does become our new normal of helping each other and community support and being aware, that there are germs, not just with COVID, but with a lot of other diseases that have always been around. But now with people being extra cautious, because of this experience, I hope that going forward, people will be cautious but not take it to the extreme of closing businesses and things, but that we will continually take care of ourselves, be healthy, but not, I hope the social distancing stops, because like Robin said, it's affecting a lot of businesses, communities, people being shut down. So I hope that's not brought into our new normal. I hope the support is brought into our new normal.
So new normal, it kind of to my takeaway from what you said is it's a new awareness of our surroundings and everything that we do, and a new sense of compassion for others.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Well, that was the Gainey family. That was Robin, Steele, and Marina.
Oh, great! All had great things to say, and three kind of totally different paths too. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. It was, and I caught him off guard. And stopped him in the middle of the street and says, "Hey, will you talk to us for a minute about our new podcast?"
I probably would not have stopped and talked to you.
There was some that
I would run away the other way.
Well, that's the best part about social distancing is people leave me alone. But
But the Gainey family was great. It was
awesome.
It was nice to talk to them and get their sense of how they felt. And I thought it was very real. They were very honest about their feelings. Right. And I could relate to it. Yeah. So we need to make adjustments.
Especially the part when she brought up, the compassion piece, and the little caring piece. Like, we've gone out of our way and we've maybe tipped a little more in a restaurant or picking up food because we feel for the person behind the counter. Like, keep tipping big, that kind of stuff. If you can afford to do it, keep doing those little things. They're just helping your neighbor, going out of your way. And we had that, again, go back post 9/11, we had that big time. And then it went away. And then it's nice. The only good thing is some of the stuff that happens, you get that sort of, any emergency draws people together, and disasters do that. And so you do get that sense of community that really comes out and shines in places like this.
Yeah, community was the key word, I think, that they said a couple of times, and it's so true, especially here.
Yeah.
It's hard not to go down the street and not see someone that make eye contact with, smile, wave. Those are all a part of living in Tehachapi.
One of the best parts about living in a small town. And Tehachapi is a very special place, that's for sure.
We've had great response to a lot of our, I know people that literally have not cooked at home since this started. It is every night they're going out of the way because they're still working, and they're going out of their way to order a meal from a restaurant because, look, they said, I'm still working. I might as well just go help them. And so I think our restaurants have been pleasantly surprised at the fact that even though they're just limited to takeout and deliveries, that they're getting the amount of business they're getting because people are just understanding and appreciating the fact that they want to help them as much as they can. And
Tehachapi has amazing restaurants.
Yeah.
For a small town, we have an international flavor, and they're all so good.
I mean, there's a line of cars 12, 15 deep for the Shed/Red House Barbecues weekend little impromptu drive-through that they do. It's amazing.
TK's Pizza, I don't know if you noticed, but TK's is building their new outdoor dining area.
Timing couldn't have been better, actually.
Right? All that. We went to Casagiri the other night, and man, there was a line. People were just phoning in orders like crazy. Yeah. Sushi was flying out of that door. It was so amazing. And it was so good.
Yeah, and that's one of those norm things. It's funny. Before this, I hated calling in orders for some reason. I got to the point where I didn't want to talk to anybody on the phone anymore. I'm like, can I order online? Oh, I can't. never mind. I mean, it was really weird. Like, you just felt odd calling on the phone because we'd gotten into an online order situation. Now it's kind of a balance. I'm okay with calling now. I'm going to call dinner in here very shortly because there's a great special this evening at Perfetto's. But we're getting back to being okay to calling on the phone, but also other businesses are getting into that. Okay, let's get the online ordering. Let's get the apps squared away. So we have this stuff as a tool in the future.
Mm-hmm. Now, the term new normal, the new norm, has also transcended into other industries, not just our lifestyle, but I heard it used in the medical profession. Mm. And I saw Jeff Lingerfelt from Adventist Health Tehachapi Valley at the farmer's market and asked him, had he heard the term and what did it mean to him? And here's what Jeff had to say.
Tell me about the new normal and what it means in the medical profession. It's a term that's being used now as we're making adjustments to life. But I know that I've actually heard in the medical profession. What does that mean in your industry?
I think certainly on the outpatient side, what we're seeing at our clinics is probably 80%. 70 to 80% of all the visits now are virtual visits. Before that number was less than 10%. So I think what you're seeing is that people are adapting to technology and using it to social distance. And so I believe you're going to see a tremendous amount of that when we come through this on the other side, that will be a new normal. I'm not really sure on the hospital side. I believe that hopefully we can get to a point where people can have confidence, and they should have confidence that, the hospitals are safe. We've had issues where people have come in and had to have emergency surgery and complained to us that, well, I've been dealing with this for 2 weeks. So, I want to encourage people to come to the hospital. We're safe. The procedures are safe, and don't delay care that needs to be done, because oftentimes when you do that, the price you pay is much steeper than you would have paid earlier.
When you think about the new normal, as we discussed, I've been one who's used the telephonic medical appointment during this period, and it was really convenient.
Mm-hmm. So, I know people that are in the medical industry that happen to do a lot of business in some major healthcare providers, and they said the telephone visits are very popular now with their members because they don't necessarily charge the same copay for a lot of the accounts, if any at all, and for little things that doctors have seen 1,000 times, they can listen to you describe the symptoms and go, oh, you have this. Mm-hmm. So it's going to stay.
Well, there is, in the medical industry is being forced to change, right? They were readying for this big surge, and then there was no surge, and they're kind of waiting around, and people stopped going for medical treatment. That's not a good thing, mm-hmm. right? And so now we've created this system, or it was created before, but we're using it more, and that is the phone in medical appointments, and so we're learning how to utilize the medical industry. But the point is really, don't delay, and Jeff said it, don't delay with medical treatment. Don't let it turn into something. Don't let it fester into something really serious, right? Whether you phone in or go in, the hospital is open 24/7. They're open.
There were a few hospitals I know in the area and a few of the urgent care companies that before all this did have sort of an online check-in. So you didn't have to necessarily go in. You could go check and say, oh, the waiting room at the ER is an hour. And, well, obviously, if you really need emergency service the hour, you're going to go. But if it's something like, well, I can probably wait, you can check in. So you're not waiting, sitting in the waiting room. You basically get your place in line. Some of the urgent cares have done that. So I know there's more discussions healthcare-wise. Okay, how do we get this online check-in set up? How do we even, there's been, so that's worked in the hospitals. It's going to potentially work with the clinics. And I know, there are larger chain haircutting companies that had that already. I could go on my phone and go, oh, this location that whatever cuts has a 5-minute wait. And then I go ahead and check in. By the time I get there, I'm in the chair. I'm not waiting in the waiting room. So I think waiting rooms, they've already kind of decided that we don't want those anymore in restaurants. I think finding creative ways to get rid of the waiting room in healthcare, salons, whatever it might be, is going to be another technology
what's
piece.
The most precious thing that we have as human beings? It's time. It's time, right? You answered that quick, Keith. Mm-hmm. Right? And so if we can manage our time better, so this has forced us to manage our time better. Right? Because we only have so many hours, minutes, days on this earth. Yeah. And when it's done, it's done.
What was that movie with the time? Was that a DiCaprio movie? You got the time was like currency? and then like everything cost minutes. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
I forget the name it was, but anyway, it was like that was it. You bought coffee, you had to do like it was like 30 seconds.
You had to take a deduction.
Yeah, and then if you like when you got to 0, you died.
Ooh.
So like
they collected you.
Yeah, and so you would end up like trying to give, if you had extra time, you give some to your parents so they could stay alive longer, and it was all on your arm and your.
Right.
Can't remember the name of that movie, but anyway, it was interesting because everything time cost was the cost of everything.
Well, that's so true.
Yeah.
Isn't it so true?
And speaking of time, we're running out of it.
Right.
We're pushing up on our goal by a few minutes, but that's okay.
But we're international superstars.
We demand more. We're demanding more time.
Yeah.
That's number 57.
That's right. Yeah, we got
Corey is
55.
He needs a fan club or something.
Yeah,
He'll create a fan club for himself, I'm sure.
He's got his own Facebook group right now.
I do, right?
His groupies.
Well, the new norm, just for me real quick, is it's going to be different for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to set that new norm for all of us, what our comfort levels are, and hopefully everyone gets to a comfort level sooner rather than later. I know that's the discussion we've had in our house, and we're good with it.
Mm-hmm. And care for each other.
Right.
Really care for each other.
Yeah, take the time and listen.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you listening to us as we got a chance to share our thoughts and the thoughts of some of the folks we talked to on the streets. Upcoming shows, we've got Congressman Kevin McCarthy's team has committed. Okay, they haven't signed the contract yet and given us a date.
He's got a little bit going on right now. I don't know. 30 minutes to him. We talk about time. I think 30 minutes is an eternity for
those congressmen until it's actually signed. It's all discussion.
So we're in the discussion phase.
Okay,
with
we've had Vince Fong, we've had Shannon Grove, and so I'm sure his people have listened and they know it's not a big trap. We just want to talk to him about what's going on.
And I will share with you guys that I did invite the president to come on.
You know what? We talked about that.
I reached out to the White House and they sent me a thank you. And I haven't heard back yet. But
did you tell them what number 57 a government podcast?
They're going to say Tehacha what?
TehachaPod.
We played the Kevin McCarthy card. They're very good friends and working colleagues. So maybe we can use that avenue to get.
Maybe
just a soundbite from him. He could record something. He's got an iPhone, right? He could send something.
That would be great.
Even a tweet at us. If you tweeted at us, I'd be okay.
Cool. Right. That would be very cool.
At TehachaPod.
And if anyone is out there and you've got an idea for a show topic, or you just want to say hi, if you're one of our members of the military overseas listening, let us know that you are listening. We'd love to hear from you. Or if someone wants to send a shout out to someone overseas, we'll put that on as well.
Absolutely.
So just reach out to us at media@TehachapiCityHall.com. And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Make sure you hit subscribe, and we'll catch you on another episode of TehachaPod.
TehachaPod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of TehachaPod.